Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic 90s nerds. We are joined not only by Kat, but also by my whiny dog. So if you hear whining, it's Jackson. He's very, I don't know.
He's very needy today.
He is. He's been whining ever since Kat came over. He's like, man, pay attention to me. It's okay, Jax. Lay down in your bed.
He's making a nest.
Okay, good. At least that will keep him comfy. All right, guys. So we are going to be talking today about Needful things. But before we do, I want to remind everyone that you just launched your YouTube channel. Yay! So guys, please, I encourage you, please go follow Kat's channel. Aww. It's called Kat's Novel Adventures. What a clever name. I love it. It's very representative of you. It's like about adventure, but it's a double play on words because novels you like to read.
Yes,
it works.
Is. I love it.
Yes, so I'm very proud of Kat, and I want you guys to follow her if you aren't already, because
and many thanks to everyone who already has been following me. I've had some very sweet comments.
Oh, Arlene says, hi, Kelsi and Kat. Warm greetings from a freezing cold Manchester, England. It is really hot here. It's like the exact opposite of what you are dealing with.
Hot-ass Louisiana.
Hot-ass Louisiana. Kat loves the way I described that. I said it in a video, and she's like, hot-ass Louisiana.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, really.
Paul and I took a walk to go get donuts. We've got a donut shop not too far away, and we took Jackson this morning. And we were like, how is this the temperature and it's November?
I know, it's ridiculous, especially since we got maybe 5 days where it was like cold, like in the 40s or whatever, and you were just like, whoa, this is awesome. And then
I'm sure Arlene's sick of the cold, but like I'd take the cold right now because
we want cold.
Like, it doesn't even feel like fall. I mean, it feels like the middle of summer right now. We've got Cool Gamer joining us as well in the chat. Hi, how you doing? And hi to everyone who's not in the chat and anyone who is watching after the fact. We appreciate you all.
Yes, we do appreciate you being here with us.
Yes, because we've got a hefty novel to talk about today.
It is chunker.
It is a chunker. Ugh. So I was actually, before we get into details, I kind of want to drop like a big bombshell on you.
Uh-oh.
I've been holding back what I thought about Needful Things. I didn't want to tell you what I thought about it because I wanted it to be a big surprise on camera.
Oh, no.
I hated it. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not it.
Gonna cry.
No, I got something, but it'll shock you, I think.
Oh, no.
And I'm shaking the camera. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like all excited about dropping this bombshell.
It's not gonna make me cry, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's from happiness. I think it's my new favorite Stephen King book.
What?
Yeah.
Woo!
So we won't know for sure until December.
That's true.
So right now, my current favorite before this is, I don't know, The Shining, but it's been 10 years since I've read it. So, it's been a very long time. As I was reading Needful Things, I was also listening to it on audio as well, reading along physically, listening as well. At the same time, I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. And the ending, I really love the ending. Mm-hmm. And you know how much I love The Stand? Like, The Stand was in my top 5, but like this definitely beats The Stand for me because they remind me of each other in a way because they both are filled with a lot of characters.
Yes, tons.
Great character development. You really feel like you know the characters. But what I think Needful Things has over The Stand is a better ending and a more satisfactory ending and a more action-filled climax in general. So that is where I think Needful Things actually surpasses The Stand for me, which is a big deal.
Right.
But I will say, I will always remember reading The Stand because I did that without audio. I did that with my eyes, and it's like the longest book I have ever read with my eyes. So that will always remain a special book for me, in a sense, because of the experience. And I still like the book. But definitely Needful Things is above that. I'm pretty sure Needful Things is above Pet Sematary. I like Pet Sematary, but I found the story to be more entertaining. Pet Sematary is hard-hitting. Pet Sematary is about grief. It's a great examination of that. There's some great horror imagery. But this one, maybe it's because I don't know the story like I do with Pet Sematary because of the movie. Maybe it was because of that. I don't know why. But I think it could be my favorite.
Well, it's very hard. And we talked about this at the very beginning when we were like, what do you think our favorite books are going to be? And all that. I haven't read every single solitary Stephen King book in the world, but the one I've read a lot, but it's very hard to just say these would be in my top 10 because the minute you start listing them, you're like, well, but I like this one too. And I really enjoyed that one too, because all of them bring something to the table. I mean, I can tell you which books were not my favorite quicker than I can tell you which ones
I can tell.
are my favorite.
Same thing, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
like I would say Gerald's Game. Like, even though we had a great discussion about it, there are great elements, but like my enjoyment of it like wasn't that high compared to something like Needful Things or The Stand or Pet Sematary or even It. You know, right now I think my top 3 as of right now, and this could change because we still have Dead Zone and we still have The Shining, which would be a reread for me. So right now, before I reread, the number 1 spot is in question. So it's either Needful Things or The Shining, and then the other spot, which will be number 3, is Pet Sematary. So that's the top 3 right now.
Right. But you really did love Cujo also.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. It is Cujo. I'm sorry. You're right. It is Cujo, actually. I like Cujo better than Pet Sematary. I like Cujo a lot.
It's just really,
See how hard it is?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
Pet
really
Sematary
hard
being
because
the top 5.
everyone brings something to you or makes an impression on you in some way. And it's hard to, I think it's harder to compare his books as being in the top, you know.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to make yourself pick.
I know.
So I'm making
Whereas
myself
I think
pick.
the movies are easier for you to choose which ones are your favorite.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so. Graveyard Shift, number 1, baby. That's my favorite Stephen King adaptation movie. Ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, it is so ridiculous.
It's so good though. It's so cheesy and amazing.
It's the corn and the cheese. That's why.
Oh my god, I think about that movie all the time since we watched it.
I think that you should have a video where you have like a corn
Someone suggested
a corn meter or a cheese meter or something.
Ranking my cheesiest favorite
How
movies.
many corn cobs you give to it, or how many or candy corns.
This one gets 5 corns. Yes. By the way, we've got more people flowing in. Halco, how you doing? Melissa, hey. So happy you're here. I enjoyed the book too. Yeah, I think it's my new favorite Stephen King, but again, I have to reread The Shining to be absolutely sure because The Shining could still be number 1. It's been many years though.
Yes, it's very.
I mean, I know the story, but I just have to re-experience it.
You need to re-experience it. Yes.
Jennifer's here.
Hey, Jennifer.
So happy to see you. How you doing?
So happy to see everybody here.
Yeah, what's everyone reading? You know, I don't know how long ago you guys finished Needful Things. If you're just coming to chat because you've already read it in the past or you read it this last month and are just joining us to hear our thoughts. I literally read Needful Things this week. I started the day after Halloween because I knew I wouldn't be able to get to Needful Things because it's such a chunker. I knew I wouldn't be able to get to it in October with all the Halloween reading I wanted to do. Now, Needful Things is appropriate, we should say, for October.
Oh, yes. That was one reason when we were breaking down all of the books that we chose, the stories we chose, we're like, when should we do it? And, you know, I was like, it'll be great for Halloween. Of course, when we made our list, we weren't thinking about what other things were going to happen to us as the year progressed. I mean, like literally, because, you know, your channel really has blossomed to even more. I mean, you're doing more readathons, you're participating in all kinds of other live events with other booktubers. So you didn't know that in December
when we
were deciding to do this. And also too, I didn't know I was going to be launching my channel at that time, you know, or whatever, during October or the fall or whatever. But, and then I've been participating in other readathons and things too. So it's like, man, you know, it's like you don't want to take away from any book that you're reading. That's my thing. You want to give it all the attention that you can and enjoy it for what it is and it not become a chore.
Well, that's the thing. So like I'm liking our year of I'm really enjoying our Year of King, but I need a break from the Year of King next year, bad, because doing it every month is very hard because they're all so chunky.
Right.
So it's like every month, it's like I gotta read another chunky
Yes, he
Stephen
is
King
known
book.
for writing really long books.
And instead of just picking up one, you know what I mean? You got to do it in a time frame before our chats. So that's why it's not a chore, but it is like strenuous at a certain point. Like, for instance, with Needful Things, with me starting on November 1st, which, by the way, guys, was this past Tuesday, and our chat is today, Sunday. So I finished it. Luckily, I finished it really fast. I finished it by Friday night. And I watched the movie on Friday night. So I killed it somehow. I don't know. Audio. Thank you, audio, for existing.
Yes, this has been a fun year. We will not have a Year of King in 2023.
No.
We may have
a month of King.
Yes.
Like where we read a random King every now and then. But not every single month.
No.
It's killing me.
But this has been a fun project.
It has. I do want to read Salem's Lot at one point.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great to read that one.
Favorite.
I feel like I have to get to that one. That's not on our list this year.
I think you need to. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Classic King.
I will definitely get to it, but I don't know about next year. We'll see. We'll see. I might throw it in or I might not. So, guys, what is your current favorite Stephen King book? I'm very curious to see what people say. I know, actually, you were saying you don't think there's a lot of people who consider Needful Things in their top tier Kings, but I know a lot of booktubers who say it's one of their favorites.
Well, that's good. When I was doing research, it's like normally when I do research for something, you find a lot about his other work, and this one I didn't find a lot,
which is odd.
And then even my book that you had given me for Christmas, there was like a paragraph.
That's
but
weird.
like 3 little bullets or whatever. And
which
even
is unusual.
Even in the magazine, there's only that one little section, and it's about Leland Gaunt, basically.
That is very unusual that there's not more information out there about it. By the way, Jennifer is currently reading it for the first time. We just read it.
Oh,
what
my
month
gosh.
was that?
That was in July.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My coming of age month. Yes. I read a lot of coming of age in that month, and it was great. Yeah, that's a chunker. That's like just as long as The Stand. But yes, Jennifer says her favorite Stephen King so far is Salem's Lot. Yes, so she's with you. But she can see it possibly replacing it. So the book, it possibly replacing Salem's Lot as her favorite. Yeah. It is a funny title because when you use it in a sentence, it's weird.
It is. In fact, it wouldn't even let me put it when I was writing my blog post for what I read in July. It would not accept it. It kept throwing that tag out like really? As one of my tags. So I finally had to put It by Stephen King to have a tag. I even capitalized IT, and I think it must have thought I was thinking like the IT guy. Oh. I don't know.
Oh, the IT guy. Then you get random tech people coming to your blog post being like, "This is about It by Stephen King and clowns. What's going on?" and supernatural stuff. I know. Dawn says, "Hi, I'm new to your channel." Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. I appreciate that. Didn't know this was happening today. Might reread Needful Things soon. It's been about 20 plus years. Well, Dawn, I really enjoyed it. Now it is long, and Kat was saying before, I'm not gonna jumpstart over what you got to say, but you did mention that you thought there were some things that could be left out.
Oh, yes.
You thought.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that there were a couple of characters probably that could be omitted, and it's still, he couldn't tighten it up and, had similar situations happened for the outcome with these characters. But I do think there were a couple of characters that I didn't really care for, and think it would have been still a great book without him, honestly.
I know you mentioned Ace Merrill, like he didn't really need to be there. Mm-hmm. I didn't mind him being there. I mean, yes, you didn't have to have so much description of the town people playing pranks on each other. You could have had a couple of examples of that and then cut it off. But I just liked how the whole town was encompassed in this drama. Mm-hmm. And so it just was a good example and proof of that by him actually going into detail. Mm-hmm. And trust me, usually I don't like lengthy, over the top, drawn out things. In fact, the funny thing is, and I've got to talk to her more about it. She's not here as of right now, but my friend Kelly over at the channel, Kelly Hooked on Books, check her out. She actually liked Needful Things, which is very surprising because she's usually pretty harsh on King. Oh, really? She usually doesn't like the character development. Like, she's more plot driven. She likes when things are happening, but she liked Needful Things. So I want to know what made that difference for her.
I think
why did she like it?
Needful Things is both character driven and plot driven, because I feel the themes in Needful Things, you've got consequences of greed. So you've got all these characters doing things because of the greed that they feel and the possessiveness of the item that they purchase from Gaunt. You've got the effects of small town politics, who can get away with what, and who thinks they're better than others, and where people kind of stand with one another. So that's how Gaunt actually can pit people against each other, is because of how they fall, I guess, in
also the pettiness as well against each other.
Yes. Harm resulting from mob mentality. I mean, literally, that's what ends up towards the end. It's like they have that mob mentality, and you see that between the Catholics and the Baptists. and you see it with the people that side with the Catholics and the Baptists. Then also selling your soul for your deepest desires. It's like what people's deepest desires, to what extent they would go to have that fulfilled.
Yeah.
I mean, we even see that with Alan at the end, who he doesn't buy anything, but even Alan,
was
can be
tempted.
coerced
Yeah.
into, selling his soul for that.
The danger is, and this is what makes Leland Gaunt such an effective villain, is that he knows your deepest and darkest desires, and he can play up on that and use that to his advantage to manipulate others.
Right.
And then things go to hell from there. I just think it's a very effective type of villain. And I love it. And I love how there's a supernatural flair in the book. That's another reason why I really liked it. There's humor in the book. Also, another theme of the book, I think, to add to your list is hypocrisy. Along with talking about the mob mentality between the Baptists and the Catholics, I think there's also a big hypocrisy represented with both of them. They're supposed to be the whole idea of both religions supposed to be loving, caring, and they're fighting and literally at war with each other over the religion. So I think that's a huge theme. Yeah, I gotta say, I laughed at a lot of the scenes with the Catholics not with them killing each other, but when they were talking to each other. And I will play you guys a clip. So I listened to the audio narrated by Stephen King, and I was worried when at first I was like, oh no, this is by Stephen King. He's the narrator. I had listened earlier this year. I think it was 1408. I think Stephen King narrated that story, and I didn't like his narration. And I was like, no, it's him again. It's a freaking 700-page book.
Well, that was because he followed you listening to Michael C. Hall and Willem Dafoe.
Well, that's true. I had listened right after to 1408, right after listening to Michael C. Hall narrate Pet Sematary, which was amazing.
Right. And Willem Dafoe did the Langoliers.
And that was also amazing because Willem Dafoe as a little girl is hilarious. He's like, ah! And a teenage girl as well is hilarious. So Willem Dafoe is just really great with the voices and over the top. That was mostly great in a cheesy way, if that makes sense.
I know.
Whereas Pet Sematary was great in an awesome voice acting way. But in terms of this one, I was pleasantly surprised, and King really amped it up for the Baptist preacher, Reverend Rose. He freaking, and I will play it for you because I found it before we went on, the way, and I guess this is how he wrote him in his mind when he was making up the character. The way he narrates him is hilarious. It's over the top, fire and brimstone will be raining down from the sky, and it's not even, he's not preaching, he's just talking to the sheriff and speaking like this. So let's see if you guys can hear this.
Not long after I had first heard of this dreadful idea to demand that you refuse to sanction such an event in the name of all the decency. Reverend Rose, if you'll recall, Rose held up one hand imperiously and dipped the other into his jacket pocket. He came out with a pamphlet, which was almost the size of a paperback book. It was, Alan saw with a sinking heart, but no real surprise, the abridged version of the state of Maine's Code of Laws. I am now come again, Reverend Rose said in ringing tones, to demand that you forbid this event, not only in the name of the decency, but in the name of the law. Reverend Rose, this is section 24, subsection 9, paragraph 2 of the Maine State Code of Laws. Reverend Rose overrode him.
And I was listening to it way faster.
Well, that's
than
what I'm
this.
saying.
Let me go to 2.5, and you guys will hear how I hear it.
Is that the normal speed that you just played it?
No, that was 1.7.
Oh.
And Alan realized that the only thing he managed to do in the last few minutes was to swap one crazy for another. Except to where noted down, Reverend Rose read, his voice now taking on the pulpit chant, with which his mostly adoring congregation was so familiar. Games of a chance, as previously defined in the section 23 of the Code, where wages of money are induced to the play shall be deemed illegal. He snapped the code closed and looked at Alan. His eyes were blazing. Shall be deemed illegal, he cried. Alan
I just so every single sentence that Reverend Rose speaks in the audiobook is like that by King. And I'm like, I love it, I love it, I love it. And also Wilma, who fights with Nettie. It's Wilma, right?
Yes.
Yes. Wilma is also hilarious. Just how, because you read her is kind of bitchy, but the way King narrates her is pretty funny because she's so bitchy to her husband.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for him.
She's awful. Before we move on, let's see. Melissa says, I think my top 3 would be The Shining, Misery, and Firestarter. It's too hard to pick just one. Yes, I agree.
I haven't read Firestarter.
And
yet.
then Halco says, I didn't like Ace either. Well,
you're supposed to not like him, but I guess he technically didn't need to be in the story, but I didn't mind him in the story.
I was like, if anything, if they had a way to shorten anything, I think they should have just gotten rid of him.
I think they just wanted someone who had a big grudge against Alan, and so that's why he was kind of shoehorned
and then also tied to Castle Rock in some way, because the body he appears in the short story The Body, which they made the movie Stand By Me, I think. is
yes,
based on that.
It is. Guys, as Kat's gonna go through all this great, she's got notes and stuff. As she's doing that, I want you guys to be shouting out your ratings for Needful Things, the book. Did you like it? Was it just a meh King read for you? Is it in your top tier King, or is it in your lower tier King? And that's Jackson shaking his ears.
Shaking his ears.
Hopefully he won't unplug us or anything.
I think he was giving us his rating,
thoughts.
his rating.
He says, no, I don't like it. Aw. All right, go ahead. Tell us some facts.
So some facts about Needful Things is this was actually the first book written by King after his rehabilitation from drug and alcohol addiction. First one, because you remember there was like a decade, and a lot of his classic books that we know and love were written during that time that he was taking drugs and drinking all that.
And that
alcohol.
is interesting because of the character Ace, actually, because he is doing cocaine.
Yes.
It's like kind of fueled by that, and
Yes.
even talks about that a little bit. And it's almost like, was that kind of representative of what King had just gone through?
I was thinking the same thing. It was almost like, I think he wrote it so well of how he was talking about it and everything, probably because of the experience he had.
Yeah.
So maybe it, I don't know, maybe it was like helping him,
to have
by
a character
writing him.
like that.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
So maybe Ace does have a reason,
Maybe so.
more than just being a story, kind of plot point, anchor point for, the antagonist for Alan. One of the, because of course Leland's the bigger antagonist for Alan.
Yeah, yes. I think that is his arch nemesis.
Oh yeah,
because he's kept him away the whole entire time. But anyway, they have some inspiration. I found this on StephenKing.com. And his inspiration for writing this, he says, I guess I was one of the few people in the United States who thought the 80s were really funny. It was a decade in which people decided for a while, at least, that greed was good and that hypocrisy was simply another tool for getting along. It was the last hurrah for cigarettes, unsafe sex, and all sorts of drugs. It was the final corruption of the love and peace generation, the big cop-out. And I thought it was a case of having to laugh. It was either that or cry. I was thinking about all this one night while driving home from a basketball game, and my thoughts centered on Jim and Tammy Faye Baker of the PTL Club. It occurred to me that in the 80s, everything had come with a price tag, that the decade quite literally was the sale of the century. The final items up on the block had been honor, integrity, self-respect, and innocence. By the time I got home that night, I had decided to turn the 80s into a small town curio shop called Needful Things and see what happened. I told myself to keep it light and surreal, that if I just kept in mind the baker's doghouse, which had been equipped with heaters and running water, I would be okay. And that's what I did. The book didn't review well. Either a lot of critics didn't get the joke or didn't appreciate it. The readers liked it though, and that's what matters to me.
Yeah, I saw the humor in it. I saw, and it just kind of over the top that very rarely, you do have this in it, but like there's like it's almost like he's a demon or the devil.
Yes.
Like Leland Gaunt.
Yes.
And so like him being in one of King's more realistic based stories and all this supernatural stuff going down, it was just cool. I just really liked it. I liked the atmosphere of it. And like I said, the whole thing of the Baptist versus, there was a lot of humor versus the Catholics.
I
even Wilma, there was tons of humor in there.
Well, and also too, just the misunderstandings, because the thing that cracked me up too is like you had people that knew each other well that were fighting with each other. Like, Myra and Cora were best friends, but they were both given something they equally loved, which was Elvis.
And that was great too.
But
that was funny.
But that, for being people that knew each other really well and were best friends, they turned on each other. And then you had, instead of going to each other and saying, but they were so obsessed and so addicted to whatever they had bought.
And they also wanted to outdo each other.
Exactly.
So there was a competition element too, like kind of how he's alluding to the 80s, like, who has the biggest this and the biggest that. It was all about that.
So, but the whole thing too is you've got some people that had situations against each other just in casual acquaintance, like Eddie with Sonny. Sonny was the mechanic and he didn't fix Eddie's car the way it was supposed to be fixed. Well, they were like business. They had a business transaction or whatever. Whereas Myra and Cora were friends, but the outcome was the same.
Right.
The outcome still was the same, that it didn't matter how well you knew somebody or how much you liked them prior to Leland Gaunt coming to town. The outcome was that there was going to be destruction in those relationships. But I don't know, which I thought was very good how he set all that up.
I do too.
I think to myself, I wonder if he had like this big, huge bulletin board or a whiteboard or something, probably a bulletin board, with little index cards of all his little characters and maybe like had string going from one to the other. That's how I would envision myself doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe he does it. I don't know how he keeps his characters straight.
There was so many of them in this particular book, but I'm glad readers like it because I did see what he was trying to go for the most part. And the Elvis thing's another funny, but also sad thing because, you know, was it Cora? Her son freaking dies, and she doesn't even
know. She doesn't even know.
No, she does know, but she's more, well, she's kind of out of it. She kind of knows something happened, but she's like, whatever, I want to get back to my room.
Well, she's wondering why the police are in the garage. She doesn't really, and she knows that Sean's somewhere.
When she answers the questions about Brian, though, she like doesn't even want to be there.
Right.
So like that's weird. Insane
it's
to
just
me.
Crazy
it's
to
insane
me.
to me. So that's the sad part about it. It's like, yeah, like her being so obsessed with Elvis is funny, but wow, you don't even care. Your kid literally just, and that was brutal.
That was brutal.
Talk about that being brutal. And I'm not trying to jump the gun on us going to the movie, but I can't believe they even showed the kid with the gun to his head.
I was shocked about that too.
Yeah, so like in the movie Needful Things, guys, they show the young boy who plays Brian. So they show the character Brian with a gun up to his head. And I was like, whoa. Now they did cut away.
Right.
But it was pretty.
Well, and then you weren't really 100% sure in the movie, did he actually commit suicide?
He shot himself but missed.
Right.
Because he kept saying he tried to kill himself.
Right.
And I think he alluded to that he was in the hospital.
He was in the hospital, yes. So some other little facts. The book, I'm sure if you have your copy of your book, let's see if you can see it. It says it is the last Castle Rock story, okay? That's what it says on the cover.
But it wasn't, was it?
It was promoted that way, that it was going to be the last Castle Rock. But that is not the truth. Novels and stories have been published since then. Now, we have novels and stories that were published prior to Needful Things. And we read some of them. Cujo, the Dead... Well, we're going to be reading Dead Zone. But Cujo and The Dark Half, we already read. And we'll be visiting the Dead Zone this month. They were all prior to Needful Things. But afterwards, there was a short story that appeared in Bazaar of Bad Dreams, which is a novella collection or short story collection that was published in 2015. It's set in Castle Rock. The story is called Premium Harmony. And it says, set in Castle Rock that never truly... the Castle Rock that truly never recovered from Needful Things.
Oh, cool.
So I can't wait to go and read it because
I'd love to read that.
It says that's when it takes place. It's centered on a man whose wife and dog died the same day, and it produces some kind of unemotional reaction. So I think it would be a neat thing to visit that story just to kind of see what was Castle Rock, what was happening with Castle Rock at that point. There's also Gwendy's Button Box. It's the first in a trilogy that Stephen King wrote with Richard Chizmar in 2017. Now, the interesting thing about the Gwendy trilogy is that Stephen King and Richard Chizmar wrote the first one and the third one, but Richard wrote the second one by himself. Not sure why that happened. I haven't investigated. And then also, too, Castle Rock occurs in the 2018 novel, or I would say novella, because it's very short. It's called Elevation, and it's about a guy who ends up losing weight. It's very short. You could read it like in an hour, I swear. Yeah. It's very small. And then Castle Rock does make some cameos in some other stories that we did read. Gerald's Game, Pet Sematary, It, and also Graveyard Shift, the short story from Night Shift. Now, one thing I think is also interesting is that after Leland Gaunt leaves Castle Rock, he moves into Junction City, Iowa, and he opens the store Answered Prayers. Well, he has a short story called The Library Policeman, and it's in 4 Past Midnight. And that's the town that Leland goes to. Now, I don't think Leland does anything in it.
Not in
it's a story I haven't read yet, man. But I want to visit that one. And I also want to visit Premium Harmony now just to see what's going on, because we have that little tidbit of information.
That's the thing. I really love the way it ended with like the answered prayers. Like, okay, he's just doing this again and again for all of time. And I was like, this is a great ending.
Well, it's the fact that we know that he has been doing these things for centuries.
Yeah.
Okay. And Needful Things in Castle Rock was just one more town that he had to cause destruction, but then he just keeps going to the next town and the next town. And I guess it's kind of trying to tell you that the devil really owns the earth.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that roams the earth, and there's really no way that you can kill the devil. I mean, I don't know. I think of him as the devil. That's how I envision
I do too.
him.
I know somebody referenced something from like H.P. Lovecraft lore, that he was like a representation of a character from that like universe. But I think he's basically like the devil in that universe anyway, the character that they're comparing him to.
And I think some people consider him like a demon. You know, he's got the potential to be a demon. I just think of him as a devil. And I think that is influential. It's an influential thing on me from the movie, because he does seem more devil-like in the movie than he does in the book. I think the book was well written. The character development was phenomenal, but I also do think it was plot driven, and that's probably why Amy Noel thinks
Kelly
thinks that reason she likes it so much.
Yeah, because a lot of King she doesn't like. She DNFs a lot of King books because she's just not into character-driven books. So I really I should have asked her before our chat, because I was talking with her. I should have asked her, like, why did you like this one? What made you like it?
The only thing was trying to keep everybody straight. Like, I knew my people, the main characters, because so much kept coming back and forth with them, and they were at the forefront of it. But like, even your minor characters and what they were doing to each other, it was trying to keep all of that straight. I do think some of the things that he had, the pranks, which what cracked me up is how he would tell them, "Oh, it's just a little harmless trick you're going to play," but it might have seemed like harmless.
Right then and there, why were they like, "Why are you making me play a prank?" But I guess they were under his influence at the time.
I think that, and the fact that they were so excited about what they were getting. Now, I mean, the other thing too is I just thought it was so sad towards the end when people were recognizing, some people did and some people did not, that they were recognizing that what they had purchased
was junk,
was terror. Yeah, it was not anything great.
No.
Or they ended up dying and not realizing, like that part when Sally, we find out she hangs herself. We find out like
that there's like parasites in the piece of wood, like,
and that it was going to end up going into her, and
yeah. Yeah. Buy me a Coke. So we do have some interesting things. We're going to talk about the movie soon, guys. So speaking of the film, if you look about it online, there is an extended cut of the film that runs about 45 minutes longer. I don't know which version I watched. It includes plots and characters from the book cut out from the
theatrical.
Why can't I read? I don't know what is going, because I read a 700-page book this week is why I can't read.
Well, that would be interesting to know, but I know that I'm pretty sure the theatrical version, because the version I saw seemed very similar. Now, of course, it's been a long time, but Maria and I saw it at the theater.
Do you remember the running time of when you?
It was 2 hours.
Mine was 2 hours too. Justin, do you know the extended full-length version, how long that full running time is? Because if it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, then I watch the non-extended version.
Right. Well, he's saying, so far as I know, the extended cut never had a physical release on disc, but it used to air on networks like TNT. It would be interesting to find out about that.
I wonder what's streaming, because I watched mine. I like rented it off of Amazon, like online.
Mine was Amazon as well.
I had to pay for it, which it actually surprised me. So sometimes like Stephen King adaptations can be so corny, and Kat has like, the stats of the actors and the year it was released and the ratings. But I do want to just preface our discussion of the film by saying I went into the film, thinking it was going to be bad, kind of like some of the, I just assumed, even though I knew there were bigger names in it, I just never heard anyone talk about it as one of the better adaptations. But I was surprised. There's cursing, there's brutality, in the film. In fact, some of the scenes in the film are more brutal than in the book, like with the dog we were talking about.
Right. Well, I think what you thought originally was that it was a made-for-television.
Yes, I assumed. I don't know why.
And it's an actual film. My friend Maria and I saw it in the theater at the Galleria, which used to have a movie theater in it. Which
I remember
business building in the middle of Metairie, Louisiana. And I want to say we got free passes from somebody at WYS, and that's why we would go. Every once in a while, they would give you free passes, and
they
you
didn't
could
do that
go
when
to the
I worked there.
Galleria
Damn.
and go see these movies. And it's funny because that's the only movie Marie and I have seen together ever. And she's not one that really likes scary movies, but for whatever reason, it made an impression on her. And so we do tease each other over the years, you know, or she'll say, there was a day and it was really windy and it reminded me of Leland Gaunt in his car driving, because when you watch the movie and he drives into town, the leaves are swirling around, and you know, because it's October.
Yeah, which is very appropriate why we picked it for this time of year, even though it was a bad time of year to pick a 700-page book. But still, I'm glad we read it. We did.
We conquered.
I can't even believe we did. By the way, speaking of seeing things in the theater, Katrina, she said recently to me that she just saw Terrifier 2 and loved it.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Yeah, she liked it a lot. It is so crazy. It is so brutal.
Justin says it's 3 hours and 3 minutes.
So I watched.
We're going to have to try to figure out.
He says it's on YouTube. So we should try to watch it, because I'd like to see the differences, like what they cut out. And he said they put characters back in from the book into the movie.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because there were quite a few
Ace was
characters that were missing from the movie. And then some of the characters seemed like they were combined. Like Brian and his brother Sean were combined, because the part where Brian is talking to Alan before he shoots himself,
he's really talking to his
some of that
brother.
dialogue was from Sean when Alan goes to visit him in the hospital.
By the way, some of the stuff that's in the extended version of the film apparently is the Elvis stuff, which they alluded to lightly in the cut down theatrical version, because there's a woman with sunglasses and he says Cora.
Right,
that
was about
end.
it. Like you would notice her in the bar with the sunglasses. I kind of thought that was her, but we didn't have anything to do with Myra and her picture and all that.
But in the cut down version, there's no explanation of the sunglasses, what they do, you know, what is going on.
You have nothing with Sally Lester and John LaPointe.
Justin, thank you so much for this info. And he's even going to give us an article about it.
Oh, good.
If it allows you to put links. I don't know if it
we
does.
appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting us know about that, because now I want to check it out, honestly. I wish I would have known about it before.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either, because when I looked it up, that's all that came up with, the ones where you could stream it. Before we move on, the little magazine that Kelsi,
the King magazine,
terrible about where I need to show
it's this. Okay, it's hard.
Leland Gaunt is one of the most terrifying characters in that section. And it says it doesn't get much worse than Satan himself. In Needful Things, he takes the human form of Leland Gaunt and moves to Castle Rock, where the seemingly charming elder opens an antique store that mysteriously has something for everyone. The prices are low, but the cost is high. One soul. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting customers, their deal with the devil takes their most minor feuds and grudges and escalates them into an all-out madness. And after a rash of violent murders, domestic assaults, and suicides engulfs Castle Rock, the sheriff finally runs Gaunt out of town. But no mortal can thwart his evil business dealings. At the end of Needful Things, Gaunt sets up a shop in Iowa called Answered Prayers. Although the 1993 film adaptation failed to scare audiences or critics, The Exorcist star Max von Sydow's portrayal of Gaunt left quite an impression, but it wasn't because of a sinister performance. In fact, the veteran actor's portrayal of Gaunt skewed more Mr. Rogers than Satan. Instead, he made things creepy with the dialogue, spiking his conversations with hints at his true identity, like, I have a tendency to turn up the heat.
Yes.
Having a devil of a time. And oh my Lord. According to Van Sydow, he played this character the way Stephen King had written him. What I like with it is that he is portrayed as a very nice man, as a very urbane and courteous and charming man who through this attitude and through this concept appears not to be dangerous. I mean, that is truly a dangerous person. And so
he's pointing. So by the way, though, I mean,
okay, I don't 100% agree with that.
I don't 100% agree with that either, because in the book, Leland loses it on people when he's alone with people, and he's so mean.
Yes.
He calls them names.
Yes.
He rips them down, like not physically, not literally.
No,
but
the language he uses with them,
and he gets ugly with them, and it's like, you know, when he wants something done, exactly. So I feel like that was missing a little bit. We got a hint of it when he visits Polly in the movie. We talked about it. We were like, oh my god, did she sleep with him?
Yes.
Do you guys think she went all the way? I think she did. What happened there? So at the end, when Leland leaves and Alan and everyone's like gonna pick up the, you know, pieces from what happened, Polly's gotta be like, yo, bitch, I just slept with them. And like he was talking about their grandchild.
But does she know? Does she know? Does she know?
Does she remember, you mean?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. Does she realize?
And when she was like, oh, please. Oh, like, you know,
I will do anything.
Does that mean she wanted to do it?
I don't know.
It was really creepy. Oh my god, I was freaking out, and that was the worst part of the movie.
I didn't like that.
I was like, ugh.
I liked Leland. I didn't mind the actor that they chose. I think he did a great job overall. He had disgusting fingernails, and he had gross teeth, and I think that's probably what made it even worse when he was kissing Polly. I'm like, ugh. You're touching her. And then when he was doing the thing with her sweater, I was just like, I can't take it.
I know.
So I'm so glad that was left out in the book, because I wouldn't have wanted to read that. But
yeah, me too. Well, Polly in the book comes off as so dedicated. Even when she's mad at Alan, it's not like she's like wanting to cheat on him. She's just upset with him because she thinks he betrayed her trust. Whereas like this whole sexual element comes into the movie, and I didn't understand why that was there, considering Polly was like 100% like faithful to Alan.
Well, not only that, she was engaged to be married to him. Whereas in the book, she's not engaged to be married to Alan. They're not engaged,
which is weird.
Yeah, so it's like the total opposite.
Yeah, and yet she's still.
But then you almost wonder if the reason why is because the devil can even, you know, turn even the most faithful person, you know, against. Maybe that was what they were. I just wondered why they were going into that direction. And Halko says, "Yeah, Leland with Polly was weird. I didn't expect that. Yeah, like what the hell? I didn't expect it either. Why was that in there?" I literally was like, it was like freaking me out.
In fact,
like even when I was doing it, I'm just like, oh.
You got me doing the tongue waggle.
And
now
even
I'm grossed
my
out.
husband was watching with me, and he's like, "What is with his teeth?" I'm like, "I know," and they're about to kiss.
I know, like. A pleasure doing business with you. No, get away from her.
Oh my god,
so gross.
Oh, Justin, you're so sweet. You two are my faves. Keep up the awesome work with your channels.
So
Thank
nice.
you. You're so sweet to us.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so let's talk about the movie. So Needful Things was published in 1991. Needful Things, the movie, was released in 1993. The director was Fraser Clark Heston, son of the actor Charlton Heston. Get that? He actually played infant Moses in the 10 Commandments, and his dad played the adult Moses. Is that not crazy?
That is
It was
crazy.
in 1956. It's the Cecil B. DeMille version.
Wow.
Is that not crazy?
That's
that is
cool.
crazy.
That's
but anyway, Charlton Heston actually did some other films with his dad. I think it was Treasure Island or something. Charlton Heston played a pirate, and he directed it. But I just think it's funny.
So Moses is directing a movie about the devil in disguise.
Oh, yeah.
No, baby Moses.
Baby Moses. So I just thought that was funny. He doesn't have a lot of film credits to his name.
Yeah, his name's not very familiar.
I had no idea. But when I was looking up, I'm like, Heston. I wonder if he's related to Charlton Heston. Ding, ding, ding. IMDb rated this 6.2 out of 10, which I don't think is bad. Rotten Tomatoes, 31 cents. 31% on the tomato meter, and 44% for the audience score.
That's
which
pretty
I was
low for both.
I was really shocked by that, because Google users, it was 77%
liked it.
Yeah, so weird. It is kind of weird, considering they usually, I mean, Google users tend to be higher than everybody.
They do.
But I don't know.
You have to take ratings with a grain of salt, but at the same time, I'm very surprised by those numbers, especially the Rotten Tomato numbers, because compared to some other Stephen Kings we've watched, I feel like this one had really good acting.
Yes.
Some can have, and I know it's not a made-for-TV movie like some other ones, but some can have insanely cheesy acting.
Yes.
This one had some decent actors, some name.
Let us remember names. Cujo with the dad.
Yeah, the dad. Like, that was my least favorite guy in the freaking movie. That's one of the reasons why I was not looking forward to rewatching the movie. But then I see Dee Wallace and I'm like, Dee Wallace, I love you. It's supposed to be star eyes. I don't know why I did circles. It's supposed to be like stars, like the
You
emoji.
look like you have binoculars.
I
like
know.
you're trying to see Dee Wallace from your window.
Dee Wallace, I'm spying on you. No, it's supposed to be star eyes. I'm a creep. What the hell? No. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for joining. We're just talking about Needful Things by Stephen King and the movie.
Yes. Okay. So of course it takes place in Castle Rock. And what I thought was awesome, when you went into Castle Rock and you leave Castle Rock, there's a sign going into the town and whatever saying a nice place to live and grow.
Yeah.
They need to redo that. They need to redo that sign.
You know, when Alan in the movie was talking about how, why are we doing this to each other? We're a good town. I'm like, do you know the history of
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Rock?
There's so much stuff that happens in Castle Rock.
Like, why? Would you say that?
There are a lot of differences, but I want to talk about the characters first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alan Pangborn is played by Ed Harris, who I like as an actor. I think
I didn't like him as Alan, but I do
didn't
love
like him
him
as Alan, but as an actor, he's a really good actor.
I wish, okay, this is a sidebar real fast, but it's about Ed Harris and about King. So in the older adaptation of The Stand, which is a made for TV, I wish Ed Harris is in it, but as like a small part, like a military guy. I wish he would have been Flag. I could have seen that. Like, I know Flag's supposed to be like hip and all, but I could kind of see him playing the more like hip, whatever. I would have liked him as Flag. That's my little sidebar.
Well, I even have that down that in 1994, the TV version, he was General William Starking. He is and we mentioned this when we talked about The Dark Half. He's married to Amy Madigan. And he's been married to her since 1983, and they're still together.
Wow.
She actually played the wife, Thad's wife, in The Dark Half.
Oh, what a nice connection there.
I know.
7 degrees of Kevin Bacon minus Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Or whatever. Is it 9 degrees? It's something degrees of something.
In 1981, he played in George Romero's Night Riders, which Stephen King had a small cameo part in that.
Whoa.
I love all these little connections.
I do too. I love that.
Polly Chalmers is played by Bonnie Bedelia. She also played in Salem's Lot, the TV show from 1979. She was Susan Norton.
Yes.
That is so great.
It's another great connection.
Yes. And then in 1988, of course, she starred in Die Hard with Bruce Willis.
Yippee-ki-yay,
because I was like, golly, she looks so familiar to me. And my husband's like, she's married to John McClane. I'm like, John McClane? Who's John McClane? He's like, and then he's like, Die Hard. I was like, oh yeah. Well, she was also in Die Hard too. I think she's his ex-wife though, right? That's what Barry said.
Yeah, they separate eventually.
Yeah, okay.
But in the first one, they're trying to mend things together.
Okay.
Yeah, she's living.
But anyway, that's what he's saying, John McClane. I'm like, who in the heck is John McClane?
I would have known. I've seen Die Hard like 1,000 times.
Yeah,
I love. Do you think it's a Christmas movie? Yes or no? I want to know.
I've only seen it, I think maybe once or twice.
You gotta watch it this Christmas. That should be on your.
Okay.
We are making.
Well, and
you
know who else is in it? Alan Rickman, who I absolutely adore as an actor.
He's amazing in Die Hard.
Because he's the villain.
I know, and he's great at it. So you got to rewatch it.
I just love Alan Rickman's voice. Like he could hypnotize me with his voice. I'm so sad that he passed away.
I know.
It makes me so sad.
It makes me sad too.
Okay, Nettie Cobb is played by Amanda Plummer. Fun fact, Amanda Plummer is the daughter of Christopher Plummer. And you know what? I think I could have seen Christopher Plummer play Leland Gaunt. I think he would have made a good Leland.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Amanda Plummer is also, she's played in a lot of things, theater, TV shows, television, but she was in one of my favorite films from 1994, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pulp Fiction's great.
Yes. Love it. Leland Gaunt, Max von Sydow. He actually passed away in 2020, March of 2020, I believe, at 90 years old. He actually worked 70 years in the industry. 1949 up until the time he died.
That's
to 2020.
crazy.
Yes, that's the years that he was active. People may recognize him from a slew. He's got tons of credits, but 1973, he was in The Exorcist and he played Father Lancaster Merrin.
Didn't they make him look older?
Possibly. I don't know. He's always looked old to me. I mean, I haven't seen anything from when he first started, but during my time, he's always seemed like he was old. Not as...
I might be confusing the fathers. Anyway, go ahead. I just rewatched The Exorcist is the funny
He's not the dark-haired guy.
No, I know he's the older guy.
Yes.
No, that was played by a young man. They made him look old, so they made the actor look way older. He was young.
Well, then it might have been him
because he lived to 2020. They made him look old then because he was younger.
Okay.
In like his 20s or something.
Yeah.
I watched a behind the scenes featurette years ago, so this is from memory. So hopefully I'm right.
I have only watched The Exorcist maybe twice in my entire life.
Next year it's happening.
Scares the crud
You're
out
gonna
of
do
me.
it next year, right? You're gonna read it too, huh? Do it. Okay.
Pressure. I don't know if I can do it. I don't even know if I could have the Exorcist book in my house.
Our friend Rachel, she turned it upside down in between reading.
I would have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Scary. So then Danforth Buster Keaton.
Great casting for the movie.
Was played by J.T. Walsh. Unfortunately, he died back in 1998. He was only 54 years old. He was a chain smoker apparently and had a heart attack. He was actually in Misery.
He was?
The 1990 film.
Who was he? Was he a policeman?
He was Chief Sherman Douglas, which he said was uncredited. And then another spot I saw he was listed as state trooper.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if he was the state trooper that was run over.
Yeah, that was lawnmower or whatever.
Right. So that I just went into those actors just because we could be here all day, 2 hours, just talking about all the actors. I think that it was a pretty good cast.
I do too. Yeah.
And overall, I think it was a good time as far as the film in general.
I will say, like, before you go into more details, Halko says I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I did like Wilma and Nettie's part, and you were saying how much you liked that.
I loved the part. Now, the only thing that I was, and I guess this is where directors, screenwriters, whatever, take their liberties. And I'm not sure if Stephen King was on board with the changes they made. I loved the scene. It was super violent. It had the anger,
animosity was just seeping from them.
Seeped through. I think the actors, in fact, Wilma was played by Valerie Bromfield. That's who played Wilma. But I think the actresses played such good roles. They brought their game, in terms of anger, A-game, as far as how their characters in that moment were so mad at what they thought each other had done to one another. Now, the only thing I didn't like was the fact that Wilma and her husband were turkey farmers, because
I didn't picture Wilma like that. No. I pictured her as like a snotty, like almost like
she
not a rich person, but a socialite.
Yes, and she lived in the neighborhood. And even though the scene was great, I wish it would have taken place with the witnesses, with people seeing it, because I think that's what had the biggest impact on the town of Castle Rock, is that these two women, Nettie had a past. Nettie killed her husband. They don't really go into much detail of that in the movie.
Basically, everyone saw the aftermath, and so it was a bigger deal in the book, in that everyone saw it, and there was like intestines like on the ground, and there's an old woman being like, help.
Yes. And that when they see this, what has happened, it's almost like some people were like, Wilma got what she deserved because she wasn't a very nice person. And there was one of the characters, I think it might have even been Jillian, the neighbor that spots Brian leaving in the book. Mm-hmm. She even says, that's sad that happened to her, but I'm so happy for Pete, because
and then it's more so hypocrisy. A big theme is that everyone went to her funeral and no one went to Nettie's.
I know, which is so sad.
But that's more like evidence of how hypocrisy is a huge theme in the book.
And nobody cared that the whole reason Nettie killed her husband was because he was abusive. I hate that's what she had to resort to get away from such a horrible man.
Like the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. Yes. Well, enough. It's enough.
I kind of
felt for her. Yeah.
I think my dark side would have come out a lot sooner than it came out for Nettie. He would have got a fork in his eye or something. I'm glad you have a good husband. He'd be dead, apparently. I give my husband pillow therapy all the time.
So I think I do agree with you. I would have liked it in the open. And also, I picture Wilma not only as a socialite, but it's almost like her personality is like those Real Housewives, loves drama. That's what it was weird to me that she was like kind of like dirty farmer. Like,
well, and I think the difference is
I don't think farmers are all dirty.
Yes,
Just she looked all grungy. You know what I mean? I'm not anti-farmer.
Right. Yeah, please don't think she's anti-farmer.
I'm not.
Okay, just like you
my
wanted...
papa farmed. Like, that means grandpa in Cajun. He had like land up in Kentwood, and he made.
I mean, we already know how you feel about pigs. But...
I know. One time I was like, yeah, pigs, they're all like lame and killer pigs, and they eat people. And then somebody was like, our friend Dana was like, I got a pet pig, and I was like, oh no, his name
Hamlet.
Yeah, Hamlet. No. I like you, Hamlet. I'm sorry.
But I think the thing with Wilma is that Wilma thought she was above Nettie.
Yeah.
Like Wilma treated Nettie like she was this uneducated, low life, because Nettie in the book was a housekeeper. Now she worked for Polly, but she like helped her run the diner. She was baking, which was not that she was an equal with Polly, but kind of almost like they serve people together. Whereas, Polly took care of Nettie, but Nettie had her role as housekeeper for Polly, basically, kind of thing. So I think they had that element. Whereas to me, Wilma in the movie, was not a socialite, but she still was mean. She was mean to Pete, and she was mean to people.
Another big difference is she was mean to Nettie about the dog, like threatening the dog out loud in public, whereas before it was more of like a psychological attack on Nettie, almost like privately. Like she would drive by in front of her house, and it was almost like threatening,
call her
in
on
secret,
the phone,
where no one knew. Like Polly didn't know, nobody knew. Whereas in the movie, everyone knew.
Yeah, because if you remember in the book, there was a scene when Nettie is in the shop. She had just brought the cake, and then she was admiring the carnival glass or whatever.
Like, I'll take some
and
Raider.
Then Wilma comes in, and Nettie has to leave right away. And that's because Wilma has threatened her in the past about Raider barking, and now that Raider's inside the house and is not barking, it was a puppy and all that kind of stuff.
In the movie, she asked for pie, like Raider pie or whatever. It's horrible.
It's terrible.
I know.
But she did a great job being a despicable character.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, she did.
But there were lots of changes. And I guess, some of them worked for me. Some of them I was like, well... Like, for example, Brian's baseball card. I get why they changed it from Sandy Koufax to Mickey Mantle.
That didn't bother me
Probably
too much.
because some people, I know I'm not a big baseball, fan. I mean, I don't dislike baseball, but we don't have a Major League Baseball team here in Louisiana.
We don't even have the Zephyrs anymore.
No.
Yeah, so it's not even a minor league anymore.
No. So...
or whatever league that was. It wasn't.
I think it was minor.
I don't know what it was. It was not a big league.
I know who Mickey Mantle is, but I didn't know who Sandy Koufax
Well, maybe that's why they didn't want to do it that way.
Maybe so. So I was okay with that. The strange thing was Alan's character in the movie. I loved Alan's character in the book. I loved that he just seemed like a soft-spoken person who could be demonstrative when he needed to, but he was strong. I liked the fact that he liked to do the magic as a connection to his son who was deceased. He was very caring and compassionate, and I think that carried over from when we read about him in The Dark Half. I just loved him as a character.
I liked him better in this book than in The Dark Half, because in The Dark Half he was so mad.
Well, I guess so, because
at the end,
Thad was creating all this.
Yeah, but Thad didn't mean to freaking have his twin go crazy.
It was kind of weird. Like, Alan now knows about weird things.
Yeah, I know.
Because of that. But Alan in The Dark Half had never seen anything weird, like supernatural kind of paranormal stuff. So anyway...
He's grown
I like Ed Harris, but I thought them directing him to be this macho man and I don't know. He was just kind of aggressive. And then I didn't like that he asked Polly to marry him in the beginning. I didn't like that.
That wasn't even
I mean, nothing was really, established or whatever. I don't know.
They left off his family. They left off her past.
Yeah.
You can't really have all that in the movie, but
that's what makes...
They were so one-dimensional in terms of characterization in the movie. By the way, Justin says Alan Pangborn, as we were talking about before, is in The Dark Half, played by Michael Rooker.
Which one do you like? Michael Rooker.
Which version do you like better?
I like Michael Rooker.
Better than the version Ed Harris.
Because Michael Rooker's performance kind of reminds me of how Alan would have been in the novel.
I liked Ed Harris's better because I just think Michael comes off as like unhinged. Even though he's not. Like, I guess I just think of him from the Walking Dead and what's the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, so I guess part of it might be because I do like Michael Rooker. He is.
Yeah, you're biased. You're biased. That's why you're picking
but
him.
I do think he wasn't as aggressive the same way as Ed Harris's portrayal. Like, he seemed like he was more like the Alan Pangborn in the book. But anyway,
Richmond has a minor league baseball team called the Squirrels. I like that name. That's better than the Zephyrs. Let's go Squirrels. Let's go Squirrels. It's actually kind of cute. Oh, by the way, Christopher Plummer was in Dolores Claiborne. I didn't remember that.
Well, and that was one we did not read, which would have been great to read this year.
I've seen the movie.
I know, but it would have been good because remember the comparisons
between Gerald's game. Yeah, that would have been a good one. But we didn't know. I didn't know there was an eclipse in Gerald's game before reading it.
Right. I forgot about it. Okay, so Gaunt. I just thought his fingernails, I already said it, and teeth are disgusting. I hated the scene with Polly. I even put yucky blucky. Don't like it.
Yucky blucky.
I did.
Yeah, it was I couldn't really look. I was like, please don't kiss him or more.
And then also too, I loved that Alan literally does not meet.
I know.
Literally does not meet.
To the very end.
Yes. I even wrote down the page number. He finally sees Gaunt on page 674. Do you realize the novel is 685
less than 20 pages? That's less than 20 pages from the end.
And so what cracks me up about that is in the film, he meets him right away.
Which was weird. I don't know if I liked that.
So I think,
so early.
And that's why I think they could have probably not even had Ace Merrill, because I think Alan's person that he was an adversary with was Leland Gaunt. From the very beginning, Gaunt avoids him. He does everything in his power for Alan not to come visit him.
Alan doesn't actively know this. And then, so Ace is more of a threat that he knows is a threat right away. You know what I mean? I don't know. I could see why Ace is in there, especially with the cocaine thing.
Maybe so.
In King's history, I wasn't bothered. He didn't really take up that much page length, in my opinion. I wasn't bothered by him. And believe me, I'm not up for extra characters just because, just to have them there for no reason.
Well, I know. I mean, he's fine. I mean, it's not like
But you're saying the movie, it's fine that he's not in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I like it because it's like it really does pit Alan and Gaunt against one another. It's more apparent in the movie than in the book, even though to Alan it's not apparent, but to me it was apparent that Leland can't let Alan see him or meet him because he knows Alan's character.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's a good person. He knows what he's been through, and he knows that he's a person that's going to figure things out, and he can read people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why he's got to avoid him. Whereas in the movie, they're perfect adversaries. I can see them doing that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just having an aha moment right now. I can see why they did that to establish it in the very beginning,
right?
Kind of thing
for the viewers,
for the
moviegoers.
Yeah, I get it.
I think before you go on, I think if you had just seen the movie without reading the book, that you'd actually mostly like it. There's really nothing wrong with the movie, but it's when you compare the little differences. Some of them aren't bad. Some of the differences and changes are fine or maybe even good. But others, I'm like, why? Like the Polly gross make
well, and also too, Alan. I was disappointed that they didn't tie Alan to his past.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that they didn't mention that he came to Castle Rock back in the day because he replaced Sheriff Bannerman, who was killed by Cujo.
They had this whole long thing just about the chaos of a city.
Yeah.
Which didn't really need to be in the
it almost
movie.
seemed like kind of too that maybe he was involved in something that was shady. And he had to get out of it or something.
Well, because he accidentally he murdered somebody. Not murdered. He shot someone on duty.
I get
and
it.
they died.
I know, but it's like he was running away from big city to come to, whereas to me, we know his history, and I wish they would have put that in there. I mean, that's just me wanting my character development.
Yeah, that's the thing. To people who didn't read the book, they were probably like, it's fine, whatever, it's already long. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because it's hard to put yourself in that mindset when you did read the book.
If they actually made the movie according to the book,
oh my
it'd
God,
probably be like
7 hours.
It'd have to be a whole TV series.
Yeah.
Like 4 seasons.
They do reference Needful things in the Castle Rock show, season 2, which I did watch, but I don't remember. Yeah. I remember they referenced Misery and Needful Things, but I don't remember.
Castle Rock is on my list to watch next year.
I think you'd like
once I'll be finished, because now that I have a little more, the only thing I'll have to do, and I know people are going to probably gasp, including yourself when I say this, I have never watched the whole entire Shawshank Redemption.
What? Oh my God, it's one of my favorite. Did you tell me this before? I don't remember if you did, but that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, someone asked me, a Twitter account, it's like a movie review account, asked me, okay, like, write down your top 20 movies.
And I know it's awesome, but I've
on my
seen
top 20
bits and pieces of it, and I'm a Morgan Freeman fan, but I have never read the novella.
It's so good. I haven't read the novella, but
I haven't
the movie.
Watched the movie, but I almost feel like I need to watch that before I watch Castle Rock, because there's so many references to Shawshank Redemption.
They do talk about Shawshank quite a bit, and maybe you read the short story as well, or the little novella as well. I want to read it too, but I love the movie so much. I also, another one I'm interested in that would have been great to compare and contrast, but I think they're very similar. The Green Mile. Green Mile.
Yeah, Green Mile.
I love the movie, but it's hard. It's sad. It's hard hitting.
Yes, it is.
So maybe another year, another year of King in 2025 or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm shaking it. I need that much of a break, apparently.
Okay, so Hugh gets a Letterman's jacket instead of a foxtail, which, I mean, I'm like, okay, I guess.
Well, because the viewers are probably going to be like, because they don't make it apparent that the items really aren't as good. They don't ever kind of.
They never do that. Well, that's another thing
movie.
too. Leland is gross, like with his fingernails and his teeth, and Polly. Okay, but no one is disgusted or wants to throw up when he touches them. In the book, that is one thing I liked about Leland Gaunt, is that
something was amiss with his hands.
And I love how people are like, "Please don't touch me," and Leland's like, "Oh, I'm not." But it's like he's aware that he is revolting to them by touch. Like, I like that aspect that was not in.
In fact, he did touch people, and I was like, "Why are they shrieking away?"
I know that they didn't have that, and so
not only are they not shrieking away, people are making out with the dude.
I know,
gross.
And then Brian throws apples instead of rocks, which I guess that kind of worked, because there was a scene with foreshadowing, because Nettie made the apple pie, and then she was cutting the green apples,
and then Leland
when
threw the apple
Wilma came in to order her Raider pie. So I guess that did make sense. I was okay with that change. As we said, I like the Nettie and Wilma fight. Hated the flirting between Gaunt and Polly. I was okay with Brian being confronted by Alan. Like, he sees them and he knows something was wrong at the farm when they're trying to investigate the double murder. But then you know that this is where Brian's character from the book and Sean's character are melded together, because Brian reveals, whatever you do not go to the shop, because it's poison. Leland Gaunt is poisoned.
The scene was powerful in the movie, but it's so much more powerful in the book. Poor little brother sees his older brother use his toe on a shotgun to kill himself.
I was so sad.
I know. And then his mom doesn't even go visit him in the hospital. So messed up. So messed up.
It was very messed up. And of course, as you know, he does not kill himself, but we don't know. I mean, for all we know, Brian may never recover from
they
what
just kind
happened
of
to him.
hints that he's in the hospital and that he tried to do it, but who knows his condition really.
Right. So then the slashing of tires was a little bit different. The priest had used tires, whereas Norris did it in the book. And that's what Norris feels so badly about at that point. One of my favorite parts in the movie, na 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 na,
and then he gets like put down. He gets like shut down.
But I just thought he did such a great job. I'm like, how perfect for Buster's. That's when you know that Buster is literally like lost his mind.
Yeah.
His break from reality is just
I mean, the
totally
Buster
gone.
character was so like out
I think
there.
he did a great job.
In the movie, it was wonderfully portrayed, I will say, because
think so too.
he did seem so unhinged, and it was wonderful.
Right.
But also, I liked him in the book quite a bit, too. I thought he was obviously very unhinged in the book. And both movie and book, I was just so sad that he was so mean to his wife.
I know,
I
hated
woman,
it. And then she had to be clobbered. The hammer.
I know, clobbered.
I did like that Alan in the movie says, "The devil is in Castle Rock. His name is Leland Gaunt."
Yeah.
I just liked it for the dramatic.
It is
dramatic. But there's so many differences, and overall, I wasn't really bothered by really any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think when you have
you just can't make it like
many
that way.
Characters, it's just so difficult, because literally there's scenes in the book. Like I am telling you, the scene in the book,
the spider scene,
principal.
Oh yeah.
Crapping on the guy's mom's painting.
I don't think he was the principal. I just think he was a teacher. But
no, he was the principal. Frank Jewett was the principal.
I thought the principal was like eyeing at him, being like, "Why do you have these magazines?"
No,
I didn't think he was.
They were in a meeting, and the principal. That's what it was. That was so terrible. Was he's the principal of the school, and he loves little boys.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was smashed behind the couch.
He was smashed behind the couch.
That was great.
And now we know why the parrot. The bird was named Tammy Faye, obviously from Tammy Faye Baker. Stephen King got that. But I thought, is he going to die by couch?
That would have been all. I wish he would have died by the couch, but he didn't.
But I just thought he was insane by that point too. I mean, he goes and the poor little pets that had to die in this.
I know, the parrot,
the
dog.
cat. Myra's cat.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's sad.
It was it Myra's cat or Cora's cat? Might have been Cora's cat. Didn't Myra go and shoot Cora? No. Cora killed Myra's cat.
To Myra's house. And
so Cora
it's not like explicitly said. It was something like,
I know, but she does kill the cat.
Did she kill her or kick her?
No, I think she blew it away.
Oh, okay.
Garfield. The cat's name was Garfield.
Garfield.
I do think so.
Die by couch.
Die by couch.
Is laughing. Jennifer says Shawshank is a great movie, but she hasn't read the story yet. Neither
I have not. I need to read it, and I need to do it before
I
Castle Rock. What I need to do is I need to
the
make a list of everything that appears in Castle Rock, and then make sure that I read the stories before I watch the series. Because I
there was
saw
a lot of
maybe the
things I
first
missed.
episode of it.
I hadn't read like anything but The Shining.
Oh wow.
Before, but I had watched movies and stuff. But yeah, I had missed. I bet
I
missed so
that
much.
Bill Skarsgård is in it. Skarsgård is.
Yeah,
in
and
it.
he's creepy in it.
Yeah, I saw like the first
even
episode,
as himself he's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like the second season much better than the first. I'll just tell you that. So don't be discouraged by the first season.
Oh no,
parts
I'll
were. It was still interesting. But.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do think that I just think that if you watch the movie if you go into it watching it as a movie, it's good. In my opinion.
Can you give it a rating?
Yes, I would say 4.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't say 5 is because I wasn't too thrilled about Alan's portrayal.
to me, like I don't.
I
Usually,
didn't like the Polly Leland thing. I
Me
didn't like that
neither.
they went there.
I would say 3.5, 4. Like I usually don't give 4s out to I give 4s out to movies I want to rewatch a lot, or 4s and 5s.
And that was
but 3.5's a solid. Like I enjoyed it. I might not need to rewatch it ever again, but like I enjoyed it.
Right. And I think Polly needed more backstory.
I do too.
I liked Polly's story of why she left Castle Rock and what happened. I didn't like what happened to her son, but I liked that she had this trauma and that she was so ashamed, and the whole thing
and
about
that was almost
pride,
worse than
and
her
that was
fear.
the whole thing too.
That was almost worse than her pain. Was the fear of people finding out and like, you know, not wanting the town to know.
Well, it was because of her pride, and that was the other thing too. That
pride is a big
was
thing.
Another thing that ran through this book. People
Especially
had
for
so
Polly.
much pride.
Yeah.
But I think that made Polly's character. You even said you didn't think Polly's character, that was almost like one-dimensional in the movie. And then I also didn't, it was like her hands hurt
and she had nothing really else about her personality.
And I mean, I guess they did it the way they did because Polly had to find out a secret about Alan to be mad at Alan for her to go towards Leland. So they did the whole thing with Alan finding out about Buster, and then them trying to set up, you know,
I guess
Alan.
It was easier to do that than the whole Ace Merrill thing.
Yes.
Obviously, because that's no extra character is needed for them to do what they did. And you got to talk about the money embezzling because it's a huge character, like plot point.
And talking about Ace Merrill, he's also one of the most terrifying. He's one of the terrifying characters in here,
out of all of Stephen King's books.
Well,
it's like a top
movie. Well, being portrayed. Kiefer Sutherland, who I like, plays John Ace Merrill, and in The Body.
In Stand By Me.
In Stand By Me, yes. But his character's in The Body.
Yeah.
It says, some teenage bullies never grow out of their wicked ways. Such is the case with John Ace Merrill, who first popped up in the 1982 short story The Body as the switchblade carrying leader of a gang of thugs who harassed Gordy LaChance and his friends while they searched for a missing boy. Years later, readers came across Ace again in Needful Things, and he's grown more evil with age. The hardened criminal has spent much of his life in and out of Shawshank. It was now back in Castle Rock with vengeance on his mind. He becomes the right-hand man of Leland Gaunt, a shopkeeper who just so happens to be the devil. Motivated by possibility of buried treasure, Ace procures firearms to sell to the locals, which Gaunt had been brainwashed into violence. In the end, it's Ace's greed and immorality that leads to his demise, finally ridding Castle Rock of one of its most savage villains. Ace's tyranny was brought to the big screen in adaptations of both of King's works, although his name was changed in Needful Things, which I still can't figure out if maybe he was supposed to be part of Buster's personality. So I don't know who his name would have been in.
Yeah, because I didn't see a character that was like him in the movie Needful Things.
So in Stand By Me, based on The Body, Kiefer Sutherland was so tuned into perfecting Ace's viciousness, he stayed in character even when not shooting, which terrified many of the young actors who shared scenes with him.
Wow.
Jerry O'Connell said, I was scared of anyone on the set. I wasn't scared of anyone on set except Kiefer. Jerry O'Connell played Vern Tessio. He said he really made himself very menacing to us. And there's a picture of Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, there you go.
As Ace Merrill. I'm terrible about it.
It's been a long time since I've seen Stand By Me.
I don't think I've seen that movie either.
Really? It's a classic.
I don't remember
it's
it.
Decent.
Or I might have seen bits and pieces of it. And I know it has some top
I know
names
Gabby
in it.
Reed's read The Body recently and hated it.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't watch that one, that vlog of hers. She didn't like it.
Well, I just think that overall, I gave Needful Things 5 stars.
I give it 5 stars, and it was one of the easiest Stephen King 5 stars I've ever given out.
Yeah,
this
it was
year
like,
especially.
Hands down. The movie 4 stars, and just for, like I said, the things that I had a little bit of a problem with, it would be interesting if we can watch the full version that Justin recommended, and see if any of these other things are put in, just to see how it works out.
I didn't realize this. Justin is also saying that Ace is in season 2 of Castle Rock 2, if you recall.
Ooh, okay, that'll be interesting.
I don't remember because it's been years since I saw. Not too many years, but a couple of years since I saw Castle Rock, and I just did not know the universe as much as I do right now.
And I'm also wondering if my feelings towards Ace is because I don't have the prior knowledge of how he was in the body. That's a possibility too.
I didn't either, but I could kind of buy into. In fact, I Googled his name because his name, we were talking about this before we streamed. His name is so familiar. And when I Googled him, it said that character appears in The Body, which I knew was the written version of the movie Stand By Me, and that he's in Needful Things. I'm like, he's in nothing in between. And I was like, there's got to be something else that he was in, like Shawshank. Is he like the guy who, I can't say it because it's spoilers for you. I was like, is he the bad guy in Shawshank? And I'm like, no, it's not him.
No, because he's not mentioned as being part of that.
He didn't come up as in any other stories in my Google search. So I'm like, how do I know this name? It's not from The Body. No. And it's not from Stand By Me, from me seeing it like 10 years ago. So where the hell is he from?
I don't know. Unless he's a character in another book somewhere out in the universe.
Just randomly, there's another Ace Merrill in a different story somewhere.
I'm glad that Halco says he's never read or watched Shawshank either. That makes me feel a little better that I'm not.
Oh my God, the movie is so good. And like I said, I put it in my top 20. But also, you got to take that with a grain of salt. What else is in my top 20?
Yeah, Christmas Evil.
I think it might have been, or I might have had to leave it off. I've got a special video dropping tomorrow where I mentioned Christmas Evil. You got to watch it.
Oh my goodness.
Watch it.
Christmas Evil.
Anyway, so check out the video I've got dropping tomorrow, guys. But in terms of what else was on it, was Home Alone 2. So, I mean, it's like one of the greatest movies of all time, according to most people.
I know why you like it. It's because it's got Tim Curry in it.
But also Macaulay Culkin. You can't go wrong with those two people in the same movie. Come on. Gold. And speaking of Home Alone and Home Alone 2, the tarantula, there's a spider in the book Needful Things, which it sucks that that was a very tense scene. It sucks that was in the movie.
And I just love the fact that in the book, like Polly's pain is what it was sucking out, and then it was just getting bigger and big, like it started, and then
it was so gross seeming.
Yes, because at first it was like, very small, then it was like the size of a rat, then it was the size of a cat, then
like a dog.
Oh, it was just like getting worse and worse. And then I just in my mind, I'm not afraid of spiders, but I'm afraid of cockroaches. And the fact that the spider was like on the shower curtain,
it reminded me of a cockroach.
Like if a cockroach flew on my shower curtain and I was like wrestling with it. I mean, cockroaches are not even that big, but I'm telling you, when they take flight and you have to try to kill them,
it's scary.
It is the scariest thing I've ever experienced.
I don't want them touching me.
No, me either. They're just
they have touched me. Oh my God, one crawled across me once. I just want to like die thinking about it. And I love the book The Nest, and I love the movie. Well, that's jumping into our. By the way, guys, keep attuned to my channel. Keep up with the community tab and my Discord, which is linked below, because we do talk about the King reads in my Discord. There wasn't much chat about Needful Things in the Discord, but I will admit that I did not even start talking on that channel, the Needful Things channel, until Tuesday, because it's when I started it. Can't believe I read it in 4 days. It's pretty good for a 700-page book. But
I think so.
We will be talking about when we're going to be doing our Halloween movie wrap up.
Because we have some that we had in common.
So and I just kind of want to give like a general rating, like my top 5 or 10 watches list, and you could do the same if you had less movies than me, but you could still do a top 5 list, right?
Or a top 3. I could do a top. Yeah, I had 15 movies. I did.
Yeah, if you want to do a top 3 or a top 5. So anyway, guys, stay tuned, because we want to do this video where we go through everything we watched for the Halloween season. I'm not including Needful Things. I don't know if you did that separate.
No, I did that. Okay. I have a whole Year of King separate.
Me too. Mine's separate from my monthly marathon. So
okay, so you rated the book 5 stars, but what did you rate the movie?
3.5. I'm glad I watched it. It was a decent movie. I don't think I need to see it again. Okay. It might not be a movie that I feel like I need to a 4 and a 5 rating for. I'm different with my books versus movies ratings. I'm more strict with movies. Like, very rarely do I give a movie a 4, 4.5, 5. Right. It's like my favorites, or movies that I think are really good or I would watch again. So this one's good. Decent. 3.5 is nothing to snuff at. It's not bad. It doesn't mean I didn't like it. It just means that it probably won't need to revisit it ever. Right. Maybe a couple years down the road. Yeah. But leaning more towards a 4 than a 3. That kind of thing. So I enjoyed it. It just, and I think I would have enjoyed it even more had I not read the book, because I wouldn't have known, they left this out, they left that out, and constantly comparing. But I love doing that. I love comparing and contrasting to the book. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's interesting too to see how people interpret the story.
Yeah, and I'm not such a diehard fan in the sense that I can't appreciate the film for being a film. Like, I know there's some people who bash, films that are based on books, which, I mean, it's kind of hard for you to see an original film that has not been based on a book. I mean, many films are based on it, and I mean, poor Stephen King is one of those authors that people are always like, the book was always better or whatever. Well, clearly it's going to be. I mean, 9 times out of 10, very rarely do you come across a film that's better than the book, because the book provides so much backstory. But I appreciate the film as the film, and I watch it as a moviegoer.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the book. I appreciate it. Sometimes I appreciate the fact that I have a book to give me a little more backstory to help fill in those, blanks.
Yeah, like, because, Paul watches a lot of these King horror movies, or like adaptations of King works that are movies. He will watch those just because he's interested. Because he has read King in the past, not many, I think like 1 or 2 maybe, but I like to give him like extra info. Like, did you know that this character, this happened in the, like in the book, this kid actually kills himself versus like he didn't in the movie. So I like doing that, and I could be the book version for him. Like, hey, this is what really happens.
Well, did you have any favorite characters from the book?
Oh, Leland. Yeah, I thought he was a great villain. I thought he was despicable, creepy, off-putting, well written. I really liked Wilma because she was such a bitch. I mean, I loved how bitchy she was. She made me laugh. And Reverend Rose, because it might have been because of the audio, but yeah.
Yeah.
Fire and a brimstone.
I love Leland also, and I also loved Alan. I really did love Alan. I loved Alan and Polly's relationship.
I love their relationship too.
As far as the movie, I think Buster was my favorite character.
Oh, that's a great favorite character for the movie because he was great. He was really out of it. I liked him with the cigars and everything.
Yeah.
Halko says, surprised I like Needful Things as much as I did. I don't hear a lot about it.
I know. That's what I was telling Kelsi. I just don't think, I think it's one of, I don't know if, would you consider it underrated? I mean,
yeah. I think by the general public, I mean, I hear a lot of booktubers talk about Needful Things as like a favorite or, a higher tier one, but I don't hear a lot of general people, like casual readers, talk about it. And you hear them talk about The Shining. You don't hear them talk about Cujo either. We're talking about like the casual reader.
Right.
The casual reader only thinks that Stephen King is the only horror writer. Those are casual readers. You know what I mean? They only read the popular Kings, and they only think that King is the only name when it comes to horror.
Right.
So those type of people, I think, don't read or talk about Needful Things. That's just my assumption. I mean,
well, I did get a little bit of information about Stephen King. I read this great book called Fear Itself. It's about the early works of Stephen King, and it's like Carrie. They kind of do some little literary essays about Carrie and Dead Zone and Firestarter, all his earlier stuff. And it's quite interesting that he became a horror brand just by mistake.
I know.
Because he had written novels, quite a few, I say, that have never been published because they weren't horror novels. And so I just thought it was a very interesting book.
So Fear Itself?
It's called Fear Itself. It's a short book. Fear Itself, Early Works of Stephen King. And I want to say Underwood and Miller were the editors for it.
So it's like a bunch of articles?
But it's a bunch of little articles. Peter Straub writes something about it when he meets Stephen King for the first time. Stephen King goes to his house with Tabitha. It's so neat because it was in England.
Oh, cool.
Because Tabitha and Stephen King went to England for a short period of time. And Peter Straub hosted him for dinner, and then that's how they became friends.
And that's how they wrote together.
So that was like very fascinating to me. Stephen King writes an essay about how he became a brand. And it was just so neat about how his first meeting when he went to New York, he didn't have any money, and what he wore, and how things were done in the publishing world.
That does sound like an interesting
And
read.
then George Romero writes an afterword.
Oh.
And it was just really neat about, his relationship with Stephen King. And I'm like, those are just people that are big into it. Now, the essays, some of them are really like literary,
like analytical,
yes,
and like almost.
Yes. And some things
like
some things I agreed with, and some things I did not. But I thought it was pretty interesting that there are people out there that actually consider Stephen King great literature, because not everybody does. I remember when I was at UNO and I was taking a writing class. And I think the teacher asked us, who our favorite authors and all that stuff. And of course, I'm like, Stephen King is my favorite author. I'm his #1 fan, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, the teacher like shot it down like he's not considered like a great writer or whatever.
Which is crazy.
And like he's not considered literary. And I'm just like, what?
I mean, he's not my favorite. Like, my favorite is Robert McCammon. I do think Robert McCammon's underrated as hell. I do think he's a little better than Stephen King, personally, but that's just me. But I do think King is great. And to say that he's not a great writer is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Because I do think he writes really well. And what I like
he
about
does a
Stephen
great
King,
character work.
He
really
does write a lot.
Characters.
He does write books also that are not always scary in the sense, like, he writes fantasy, also,
with the fairy tale that he just released is more fantasy.
But I think he can make people like Needful Things, the people in this town of Castle Rock, he can make them scary. Which is everyday things, instead of it always having to be a monster or, something coming to get you or whatever.
I think that's what makes horror such a great genre, that you can explore so many things, both fantastical things in that there's things that are hard to believe, but also very real life things, very, tangible things that could happen. And that's really cool. By the way, Jennifer wants to get the book you're talking about. Oh, Carrie's here. How you doing, Carrie? Very neat background information on King. I'll come back to this after I've read the book at some point, ladies. Thank you, Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah, check out the nonfiction book that Kat was just talking about too, Fear Itself, which is about Stephen King's early works. Sounds interesting.
Jennifer put up there about Carrie, one of my favorites too. I need to
read the book.
Get the book you're talking about. Yes, because there's a part, Jennifer, where he talks about when he wrote Carrie. I believe he said he was 19 years old when he read it. I mean, when he wrote it.
That's so young.
And I know that there have been some critics out there, or people who've read Carrie and have not liked it because of content, and how they think it's kind of creepy that this older man is writing about, that kind of content, about what happens to Carrie White, and the thing about it is, he wasn't himself now who wrote that. He was 19, and he was actually encouraged by his wife, Tabitha. He actually threw it out. She came across pages of it and basically was the one that said, you have to write this novel. I think it's good, and kind of helped him with writing about that topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like from a woman's perspective.
Because he admits in his essay that, what do I know about young girls, whatever. So it's not creepy like the way I've heard some, people phrase it. And I have to also realize, some people who read Carrie now are younger. It's different than when I read it.
Because they picture Stephen King as an older man now, and they forget that he wrote it when he was not not as we see King now.
Exactly. And then Jennifer also said she wrote a paper on Carrie for grad school. He is definitely a literary genius. I agree. Carrie was actually assigned reading in my feminism and gender in text course.
Oh, wow.
Carrie is actually got a lot of things in it going for it, and there is actually a connection between Carrie, Dead Zone, and Firestarter because of the telekinesis that happens in it. And
I haven't read any of those three.
Yeah,
novels.
I just think it's worth exploring, in my opinion. I've read it a couple of times, and I always I still feel bad for Carrie White as a character. And I mean, I have to honestly say, I think the screen adaptation with Sissy Spacek in it is fabulous. She did such a wonderful job in it. And it's just crazy to me that John Travolta is in it.
I know. It's so weird that he's in it.
I know. So her paper also addresses those concerns. King was attempting to write the female conscious in order to address men's fear of women's liberation. But you see, people people take things that they read at face value instead of really looking at it with a critical eye. And I think a lot of books, not just King's books, but there's a lot of books out there have deeper meanings, and that you really, if you sat there and really thought about, and I think horror brings that to the forefront. I do. If you really think about it, I think, Stephen King's books are based on what's going on at the time he wrote those books. So if you look at what's going on in history, a lot of times you'll see those themes. I mean, clearly I read to you what he was inspired by to write this book, so.
Which was very much a topic of conversation, very much relevant. Mm-hmm. I will say, Arlene said electric blanket, hot water bottles, and hot rums are the most needing things at the moment. So that's her needful things. Thanks to both of you for another great evening. Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you, Arlene, for joining us.
Hopefully we didn't miss her. She might have left, but because it's later for her over there. True. But hot rum, ooh, sounds good. Ooh. Hot buttered rum.
Or we would not have anything hot today.
Hot toddies. No, it's really hot outside. I can't even believe I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. Like, why? I don't even know. Well, we do have the air pumped up because Paul was like, if Kat's coming over, we should turn the air way down.
So sweet.
Yeah, I was like, because it was after that walk, we were dying. I was like, it's like I exercised and we just went for a little walk.
I know the humidity is really high here.
Yeah, it's not. How is it November?
And then I love that, Jennifer, the flying cockroaches are the absolute worst. You are correct.
They are.
I would take a spider over a roach any day.
I don't know. My friend Nathaniel Toll, who wrote Pumpkin Cinema, we were just talking about our scariest movie moments, and he was mentioning he hates spiders. So he was mentioning some movie scenes with spiders. So if you guys missed it, I spent 3 days editing that monster of a video. So check it out if you want to know what my favorite top 10 scariest movie moments are. King movies may or may not be on there.
Ooh.
I don't know. You got to watch to find out. And I did use movie clips like B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
It is long. It is a long video. It's like an hour and this is long. An hour and 36. This is actually longer than the Nathan video, but at least I don't have to edit it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And it hasn't been our longest video we've ever done.
No, it hasn't. Not, we've done a lot of long
analyses
and analytical discussions. I can't even speak English. I don't know what's going on. How can I even be analytical if I cannot speak? But somehow we manage.
You think analytically, you just can't speak analytically.
True. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Kat, any more
Arlene said she never leaves till we leave.
Yay, Arlene, thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts on the Needful Things experience? Just anyone who came late, I think this is my new favorite King, but we won't know until December. And then we are planning to have a wrap-up.
Yes, well,
in January, right?
Yes, I believe so. Well, we haven't
planned it.
We have Dead Zone for November, and we have The Shining in December. And so we will be talking about Needful Things. We'll be talking about the Dead Zone live.
But we're doing that in December.
We have to look at a calendar for that.
I'm pretty sure I saw it on my calendar.
And then we also have The Shining, which we have not.
We're going to do that in January. I think.
We have not
scheduled
that
our
because
date.
Of the holidays, how they fall. And
we're
then
watching a lot
have,
with The Shining. Just to tell them, we're watching documentary Room 237, which has to do with the Stanley Kubrick making of his movie. We're also watching The Shining by Kubrick and The Shining. What is it like?
The documentary.
No, The Shining.
There's a made-for-TV series
that Stephen King likes.
Yes, Steven Weber. It follows the book better than it's more true to the source material. And Stephen King.
So, guys, if you want to join in, yes, Dead Zone this month. We will talk about it next month. Shining December. We will talk about it the month after, and then we will have a wrap up.
Then we'll have a wrap up because out of the movies that we have seen this year and the books we've read, we're going to have to rank them.
It's going to be hard
and see how that's going.
I want to do a tier ranking, but I don't know how to do one of those videos.
Kelly's
here. We were talking about you earlier, Kelly. I told everyone that this is one of your favorite Kings. why do you like it? Because I know you don't usually like character-driven stories. You like action. You don't like long stories too that drag on with nothing happening. So Kelly, I'm really intrigued. What makes this one of your favorites? Like, why did you stick it out? Like, why was it more entertaining than like some others?
Yeah, because this is a chunker.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued because I know
invest a lot of time.
I know you're not always pro character driven. I do feel like this, but as Kat said earlier in our chat before you got here, it's a mix between character driven but also plot driven.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of action, especially at the end. I think there's a ton of action in the last 50 pages.
Oh yeah,
shit blowing up. I mean, things are going to hell, and I love that.
Probably about to be killed by a spider.
I know, I love that too. I mean, that makes me sound morbid and like into people like dying. I'm like, yeah, Polly, she's got to verse a spider. She's got to face a spider. What else? Oh, I still can't speak. Let's let Kelly type for a minute and like just go over what else we have coming up. Besides, like we said, the King stuff, we also are going to meet. We don't know how we're going to do this video yet, but the Halloween movie wrap up.
And then also too, we will be making our Christmas movie list.
Yes, we will be having, if anyone wants to join in, we're going to be watching a lot of Christmas. But this year, remember, we're changing it a little bit. It doesn't just have to be Christmas horror. It could be winter. It could be winter horror.
Yeah, that way we can flow into January.
But also not have such shitty movies because we feel like we've watched all the best Christmas horror movies that there are.
True. I agree. Okay, let's see what Kelly says.
I love a story where an outside force comes into a small nuts and screws town and F's it all up. I'm a sucker for that trope. That's a good point, because he does just come in and make everything go batshit crazy into hell.
I feel bad about not being able to type right now, Kelly. Kelsi can't talk.
I know. I was literally not even able to say the word analytical like 5 minutes ago. So it's not a big deal. I can't even speak. And also, I typo all the time, as you know. I'm always like, I mean this. Like every 2 seconds, I typo. It's because I go too fast, talking and typing.
It's okay.
All right, guys. Well, we were wrapping it up. Thank you so much for hanging with us. We know this has been a long chat. Sorry, Kelly, that we're wrapping up as you come in. But if you want to watch the beginning part, we do dive into our thoughts about the book. And just for anyone arriving late, this could be a contender for favorite King for me. So we will see in January when we do our tier ranking if it's going to be The Shining at number 1 or Needful Things at number 1. Isn't that crazy? Did you imagine it would be like in my top 2?
No.
You didn't think so?
No.
I'm very pleased.
I don't know, especially after it. I thought for sure, like, I can't believe
it would be in the top 2.
Yeah.
I liked it, but like I read so many good coming of age stuff in July that it was good, but it was good in a different way, and it wasn't as good as some of the other things in certain ways.
That's fair. Yes, Jennifer, we're looking forward to the upcoming content too. Yay. I think it's going to be fun because Dead Zone's going to be really good.
I have not watched for me. I have not read it. I've not watched it. I know nothing, so it could be.
I'm excited for her to read it.
What if that becomes a favorite? I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't know the stories that Needful Things has become a favorite, and maybe who knows with Dead Zone? We'll see.
You'll see.
I hope I like it a lot. I can't wait. All right, guys. Thanks so much once again for being with us. We appreciate you. And until next time, this is it for us. Wait, no, wait. For this time, this is it. I don't even know my own tagline. I don't even see what I mean, Kelly. This is how I cannot talk. Oh, Kelly's saying we should read Dolores Claiborne next year.
That could be a one standalone thing.
Maybe.
We could do that.
Maybe. I gotta take a little break.
After we recover,
I need a little tiny break from King, and then I can pick back up. All right, but for this time, that is it for us. Till next time, what can they do?
Keep on killing it.
Keep on killing it. And Kat knows what she's supposed to say. I don't. Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye. Oh wait, I always forget to press